Let's see here. Well. If I can just remember to get everything together before I was so busy typing and saying hi to everybody and answering on the shorts and all that kinds of stuff. I forgot to hook up my mic. Forgot to turn on the light. Oh, gosh. But anyhow, we're all here together. Golly. Diana, too. Pat Butler. Cats and Prepping. Hello. Welcome. Saw another one way up top. Let me get this. I don't know why I can't scroll on this doggone Apple like I would like to. Phioxerus Triple G Farms. Great to see you as well. There's a Korean restaurant in Kempner we've got to try, Triple G. So we'll see if we can't get that taken care of as well. Come on, machine, please cooperate with me. There we go. Now it's going to scroll for me. South Florida DCL. So hopefully you're still here. It looks like you were here last night. But anyhow, 11 people on. And don't know how, I haven't seen that many check in. Stray Kitten, hello, welcome. Terry in Radar's World. Is that Radar O'Reilly, like in MASH? So, gosh, what a great book. I'm enjoying this again. My old one, my first edition, of course, was tabbed and highlighted like you would not believe. I don't know whether it's because I've learned so much as a result of between 19. When was that? That was 1970. I was at Fuel Station Augsburg. So 1979, I think, is when the first edition came out, and now the third edition in 2022. So I think, having been so involved in everything with NBC is what we called it back then. Now it's called CBRN. Back then we called it nuclear, biological, and chemical warfare, and now we call it chemical, biological, radiological, and nuclear, CBRN. Hello, Annie Lou Who. One. Welcome. That's a new name for me as well. From Liberty Hill, Texas, right around the corner. We're in the same county. Okay, let's put it that way. So great to see you. We'll have to get together. And Triple G Farms is just one county north of us. I've been up and had lunch with him at Storms in Lampasas, and I had great chicken fried steak there with him, and we sat and chatted for hours. And gosh, it was just so great to get to meet him. Maybe we can do the same thing. I'm trying to get together a meetup in Round Rock here on Saturday mornings at 8 o'clock. And I've got Casa Garcia's has kind of agreed to it. I just need to get the meetup thing going and pay for that, and then we can get it going. But I'm thinking about 8 o'clock on Saturday mornings at Casa Garcia's in Round Rock. And then from there, I will lead people over. We are very fortunate. In Round Rock, we have one of the only 48 Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints Provident Living Centers, which is where they sell their long-term food storage items, their number 10 cans. And so I'm going to lead people over there where that is. They're only open on Saturday mornings and Tuesday afternoons, Tuesday evenings. So show people where that is who come to the meetings. Rebecca's Happy Homestead. Rebecca has been here and visited with me, and I took her and John, her husband, over to over there on a Saturday morning, and they got an opportunity to walk through their warehouse and pick up some of the things that they wanted and needed. So it's great. So great to have people who are local or who we can meet with face to face. It's just so important that we build this community, that we have people who are working together. And one of the things I love about my people in the chat is that people are always supportive, respectful, kind, understanding, empathetic, sympathetic, just a great group of people. And I think there's a minimum kindness factor for people to tolerate being here over time. They are just some of the best people on earth. Well, I want to start off with recommending there's a couple channels that I want to recommend. And gosh, now the first one I want to recommend it's going to slip my mind. I can't remember her name, her channel name. But anyhow, I will recommend the second one, which is Prepping with Sarge. Because on chapter 2, we're going to be talking about psychological preparations. And my friend Prepping with Sarge is a counselor for a metropolitan police and EMS service on the East Coast. So he sees trauma a lot and deals with it a lot and helps people prepare for it and deal with it afterwards. And so great asset. He does a live every Friday night at 6:45. I'm a moderator for him. And he has another channel, I forget the name of it, where he strictly talks about psychological things. Fantastic, phenomenal, outstanding. He just did one 2 weeks ago that was just really superior as far as what to do to people, how to help people with psychological first aid. And that's basically what we're talking about here in chapter 2 of the book we're discussing right now, which is Nuclear War Survival Skills by Crescent Kearney. But he talks about, what are some of the things that we can expect? Well, number one, fear is basically not knowing. And so if we know things about what we can expect in a nuclear attack, then we can handle the fear a lot more. If we can rehearse and practice and get a drill in and know that we have things taken care of, then we can be a lot more prepared to deal with the situation once it occurs. A lot of bad information out there, a lot of real bad information out there. So for example, one of the facts is less than 1/4 of the population of Hiroshima and Nagasaki, even after long-term carcinogenic effects, succumbed to the effects of the atomic bombs that were dropped in August of 1945. So, both of those were airbursts. Both of those had minimal fallout. They did have some direct radiation initially, as a result of the gamma rays that are produced during the fission thing that happened. However, they did not have the long-term radioactive fallout because the fireball did not touch the Earth and produce and activate the Earth and lift it up and throw it out. So, the more information we have, the better off we're going to be. So reading books like this and listening to good channels who know what they're talking about is going to do an awful lot to help you to be prepared so that the fear factor kind of goes away. We can deal with the vast majority of this, and it's not as difficult as a lot of people want to make it out to be. That's like I showed you that 1 minute short on how to build a fallout protection suit. It costs you less than $20. You can keep it in your car. No, it's not going to protect you from radioactivity. It is going to protect you from fallout. So the fallout are the particles that contain the radioactivity. So as long as you have your gear on, you're still going to get the effects of the radioactive gamma rays coming through. However, the whole purpose of the gear is for you to be able to doff it and get rid of the radioactive fallout instead of having it stuck in your hair, in your nasal passages, or in your ears, or inhaling it. That's the worst thing you can do, is inhale it. But if you can get those things taken care of, if you can keep that fallout from entering onto or into your body, you've got it pretty much made. And then get into shelter as soon as possible, getting rid of that fallout, then you've got it made. Rebecca says that I'm sorry. I having met you, I still find it hard to believe that you're a grandmother. I just that every time you mention that, it goes against everything that I have to think that you're a grandmother. You just don't look like a grandmother. You barely look like you might have a high school child, but that's my personal opinion for what it's worth. Okay. So we have terror, and let's talk about some of the stages of what we're going to go through as this happens. And what you're going to see with the 95% of the people who are going to be around you is going to be it. 72-hour was given at war with Iran, likely this weekend. I'm hoping I'm wrong. Okay. I went in for pain management yesterday, and so my pain management doctor was sticking the needle in my back, and we were talking, and I said, yeah, get ready. She says, Lee, you've been telling me that for 2 years. And so, it's true. We keep saying get ready, it's going to happen, and then it doesn't. All I can say is, we don't want to be Chicken Little saying the sky is falling all the time, but you know what? The sky is falling. It's just we have to kind of guess when is it going to happen. Hello, Sandy Aaron. Welcome. Let me see. And okay, so what are the stages? Let's get into these stages here real quick of what's going to be happening. So the first one is there's going to be apathy. People are going to say, well, if it's going to happen, it's going to happen. Nothing we can do about it. There's kind of this, they're going to resign themselves to fate, if you will, not understanding that they can take proactive measures that are going to preclude them from succumbing to fate. The second thing that's going to happen is all of a sudden reality is going to hit them in the face like a cast iron frying pan. And it's going to be, whoa, I need to either do something or run away. Okay, the fight or flight syndrome, the fight or flee. And okay. So let me see. Yeah, I mean, it's been a powder keg since 1948. We've seen the fuse lit a couple times. We've seen small explosions here and there. We know that there's going to be super explosion here sometime in the near future. We just don't know when. But I mean, all we can do is prepare and and keep our eye focused on what is it we can do in case something does happen. So then after the fight or flee, then we have emotional paralysis. So when we're stuck at that moment where we say, what do we do? Do we flee or do we stay here and fight? And so we kind of have this emotional thing to where we say, we keep debating with ourselves, should I do this or should I do that? Lack of doing either. So what you get in this paralysis where you don't run away and you don't do anything proactive. And that's where it's going to be the most dangerous for you, because you're going to stand there totally susceptible to the bad effects of everything that's going on around you. So you need to find a way to get out of that paralysis, kick yourself in the butt, and whether it be right or wrong, do one thing or the other, either bug out or hunker down, but don't stand out in the open trying to figure out what you need to do, or don't stand out in the open saying, I need more facts. I'm going to show you a couple things you can do to get the greatest amount of facts very early. Oops, that was too far. I didn't want to do that. So let me get back here. How do I get back to where I can see chat? Comments. We'll go here. There we go. So, amen. No one knows the hour of the day. I will come like a thief in the night. Thank you. I would greatly appreciate that. That would not surprise me at all. I mean, we've also got 5 Chinese warships have just entered into the Red Sea, the Sea of Iran, the Iranian Sea, and so we've got they were doing an exercise with Qatar, and now they are. I believe it's with the UAE. It might be the Emirates that they're doing exercises with. But anyhow, so even the Chinese are getting involved at this point. Yes, analysis by paralysis is very good term. That's very appropriate. So, and the worst thing is once you get into that fear where, all of a sudden you've taken too long to decide what you want to do, that fear is contagious. So there's 2 things you can do that can become contagious. Number 1 is confidence. When you have confidence and you say, follow me, this is what we need to do, people will reluctantly follow you, but they will follow you. Okay. The vast majority. There will be those who are outliers. When you show fear, everybody will follow you and they will magnify that fear. And that's going to be detrimental to the entire group. So the best thing you can do is have knowledge and confidence and lead people to safety. If nothing else, lead yourself to safety. That's going to be critical. And so, like I said, knowledge is power. There are a couple of things that you can do that are going to get you ahead of the game. Number one, get a good radiation detector. So these are the two that I have. I got these on Amazon. That's my newest one. This is an overall radiation detector. It's going to give you just the fact that there's high doses available. And then for lower doses, I got this GQ. This one's really old. It's probably about 10 years old. Inside of it, you see this little card. This is in my EDC bag. For those of you who saw my EDC bag that I did a video on it maybe a year, 2 years ago, this is the one that's in my EDC bag all the time. And so this little envelope that I keep in this sleeve here, because you got this protective sleeve that comes off like this. So inside there, I keep my dosimeter. And this is a card dosimeter. And you can get this on Amazon. I'll post all these links in the after show notes. But this is the dosimeter you can keep on you. It's got a little hole here so you can hang it from a lanyard around your neck. And then basically what it does is as radiation is absorbed into these sensitive areas here, you can compare it to the markings to see what your total radioactive dosage is that you've received. And so it goes through a whole explanation, great little explanation of how to read it, and when you need to get inside, get away from radiation, when it's terminal, all those different kinds of things. So this provides you with information. This provides you with information. If you've got one of these and it's not beeping, you can tell people, hey, it's not time to worry yet. It's time for us to find a safe place to go to. When it starts beeping, then you say, okay, we don't have much time left. We've got to get somewhere safe. We've got to get down. We've got to get away from the fallout. So that kind of knowledge is the kind of knowledge. And I will tell you, just having one of these and people seeing that you are prepared and you have this, you have your fallout kit that you put on, you have some other protective measures that you've taken ahead of time, you are 99.9% ahead of the rest of the population. They're going to say, this person knows what they're talking about. Maybe I would be better off following this person. So, if you have those tools, that's going to set you, and I'm going to qualify that. If you have those tools and know how to use them, you're going to be a leader and you're going to be able to save a whole bunch of lives. And so I would say, if you can, get that taken care of. Now, I'm going to interject. I'm going to kind of depart from the book here. I'm going to interject my personal opinion. And this is strictly my personal opinion. So you can disagree with it. That's quite all right. It won't offend me. My opinion is that we're going to have the same type of nuclear events. If we have nuclear events, we're going to have the same type of nuclear events here in the U.S. that we did to the Japanese at the end of World War II. They're going to be air bursts. And the reason I say that is because nobody wants the long-term radiation effects of a ground burst with the subsequent fallout, okay? Because what does China, what does Russia, other than getting rid of the people here, what do they really want? They want our assets. They want our infrastructure. They want our manufacturing capability. They want our natural resources, the fertile farmlands of the Midwest, the rice production of the South Coast. All those things are of extreme value to other countries. So they don't want to contaminate that for years to come, okay? They want to just take care of what's going to happen, put us into chaos. And then when they have us in chaos, they can move in. Okay, so I don't think there's going to be unknown caller. Telemarketer. I don't think there's going to be any ground bursts. There's not going to be any residual long-term radiation. It's my personal opinion. That I have nothing. I have no credentials behind my name that tell you that that's going to be the way it is. I just tell you that's how I feel, and those are the reasons why I feel that way. Grocery stores fall. No, when the grocery stores fall, the country will turn into a killing field. You are absolutely right, and that's why I'm saying, that's why we've been saying prep. get 1 or 2 extra things every time you go. Well, now's the time to get 3 or 4 extra things every time you go. And, Helen and I are going to make one more trip to the grocery store tomorrow. I've got 2 new 5-gallon gasoline jugs when we get filled up. And so now I've got them marked 1, 2, 3, and 4 so that I know which ones to rotate out first and which ones to rotate out last. Toolman Tim, another outstanding channel. He's Canadian. He turned me on to something even better than stable, and that's Pry-G. So Pry-G will even restore old gas you've stored too long that has gone bad. So I'll put a link to it in tomorrow's notes as well. Sandy, I have, this is terrible. Back when in the 80s, when I was at Goodfellow Air Force Base teaching, I bought a 5-gallon pan of lentils. I had never cooked them. Everybody said we had to have lentils for our prepping. So I had lentils, didn't even know how to cook them. I've learned since then. There are some good YouTube channels. Just do lentil soup. And one of the other things you can do is just do bean soup or cook beans and throw lentils in with them. And it just enhances your beans. So they're fairly easy. Let me see. Good question, Rebecca. So there's the way that it's explained right now is there are 2 requirements in order to have an effective EMP over a large area. Now, the EMP will happen within a confined space. So if you have an airburst, let's say over Austin, okay, depending upon the altitude, you may have an EMP from a radius of, let's say, 5 miles out to 50 miles, okay? In order for it to have its maximum effect, which they say is going to be about a 250-mile radius, it has to be higher than 25 miles above the Earth, and it has to be greater than 1 megaton, or 1 megaton and greater. Anything less than that, chances are you probably will not have an overall devastating, you will have EMP, but it won't be overall devastating, okay? Sumi says, yeah, she's familiar with Pry-G. Good. I did not know that. Thank you. So Pry-G for gasoline and Pry-D for diesel. Thank you. So yes, we're going to get into that, and you're absolutely right for extra. So that's in a couple pages here when we're talking. Let me see. It's at the end of chapter 3. But what you want to do is you want to have what they call ambient dose. Okay, so you want to take some measurements now. Once you get your Geiger counter, take it out, test it, measure what your background radiation is. Everybody has background radiation. Remember those big stories about radon in homes here 30, 40 years ago? That was a big thing. Everybody had radon in their homes. How much should you have? Well, that can be picked up on the dosimeter. That can be picked up on your Geiger counter as well, your radiation detector. So find out what is your standard daily activity right now, and then what you want to be concerned with is once you have an active burst, what's the difference between your background or standard radiation and what you're reading? And that's going to give you your actual amount of radiation that's being emitted by that weapon. So Rebecca says that the lentil soup is the bomb. I may have Rebecca on here as a guest and her husband, John, if he's willing to do it. Maybe they can give us some classes in cooking. Same thing with Sumi. Sumi, I think, has some good cooking ideas as well on some of the things that we can do to prepare ourselves for what's going to be happening. Come on, machine. Doggone. This is the one thing I don't like about apples is it's difficult. There we go. Difficult to get it to scroll sometimes. Yes, you're absolutely right. But, everything you can do is going to be better. I am concerned because I put out now every year for 3 years, I put out a letter to our neighborhood and on our neighborhood Facebook page and our channel, in our group, and I put letters in people's doorways asking people, let's please get together. We need to form a group. We need to plan. What are we going to do when this stuff hits the fan? I've had the same 2 families at every meeting so far. I've got 1, 2, 3. I've got 3 other families that say they're interested, but they don't show up for any meetings. I don't know. Have they taken anything I've said about communications, self-defense, cooking, all that kind of stuff? Have they taken any of that seriously? I don't know. Next door neighbor he and I were really simpatico as far as planning and prepping and everything else. He passed away about 2 years ago. So his wife is kind of into it, but not really. The good thing is the son, the older son, is very much into it. So he comes over every once in a while. We have good discussions, but I'm just afraid the vast majority of my neighborhood is not prepared, and I have exposed myself. So they know that I am prepared, and I'm afraid that they're going to come to me for solutions, which is why I spend an awful lot of money on things like Bear Creek Country soups and oatmeal, so that I can give that away to people. Actually, I'm going to use it as a barter item. If you'll provide services to me, I will feed you and your family, is basically what I plan on doing. Let me see. So Rebecca says that she uses chopped onions, minced garlic, salt, black pepper, and turmeric for her lentil soup. You're absolutely right. So direct radiation, absolutely. If it's an airburst, I don't think, unless they hit something like Buffalo, maybe Detroit might have some direct radiation effects going across the border. Where I would be concerned might be the Minuteman III silos up along the northern border of Montana and North Dakota, where we have the Minuteman silos. Then, of course, you got the B-52 base in Minot, North Dakota. So those things are probably going to be targeted. So, yeah, I would be concerned in those areas especially. Let me see what else here. Phioxerus says that zombies aren't that far-fetched anymore. And that does not surprise me at all. I saw, who was it? City Prepping, Chris on City Prepping was talking about, it was either him, I can't remember who. I thought it was Chris, but somebody was saying that prepping is now going mainstream. Helen and I were at Sam's Saturday, and I noticed 2 carts, and I'd never noticed it before the entire time. They carry those Ready Wise 3-day food buckets. I noticed 2 carts had those Ready Wise food buckets in them. So I wanted to kind of hand them a business card and say, we need to talk, but I figured I got enough problems the way it is with my neighborhood. I don't need to be creating any more. I think I told you, Rebecca. I think I told you and John both that I was going to buy a food service trailer when I was doing my disaster response company, and the guy lived in, I want to say Pinedale. No, it wasn't. I forget the name of the town, but it was up there in the Ozarks of Arkansas, and I fell in love with that area. The one thing I don't like is all these drop-offs on the roads, sides of the roads. I mean, that's natural impediment against invasion like you would not believe. But some of those areas on those roads, I mean, there's no curb. And if your tire gets a little bit too far, you're going to drop 300 feet. It's just, I would much rather drive in the Alps in Germany in an ice storm than at night on some of the roads in the Ozarks. I will tell you that much. Yeah, Cheryl, good point. Cheryl's Country Living, good point. One of the things the FEMA says, 1 gallon per person per day. But what they're saying is that's what you need to drink. That doesn't include what you're going to need to rehydrate dehydrated foods or freeze-dried foods. It doesn't include what you're going to need for sanitation, dishwashing, and all those kinds of things. So I say, my theory is at least 1.5 gallons, preferably 2 gallons per person per day. And that you're probably going to be a lot better off there. Make sure you have plenty of capability to clean that water. So, filtering it, using some sort of a purification process, probably even boiling it. I'm adding boiling to my purification process right before I put it into my Alexa Pure. Alexa Pure is just a knockoff Berkey. And so what I'm going to do is first I'm going to take it in my dirty jug from my rain catchment system, put it through a coffee filter into a semi-dirty jug. That semi-dirty jug is then either going to go into the Alexa Pure, or it's going to be a Survivor Filter Pro pump into something. Well, now in between, when I get that semi-dirty water, it's been filtered, I'm going to boil that to kill any protozoa and any amoeba. And before I put it into the Alexa Pure or into the Survivor Filter Pro, so that way I'm getting rid of any protozoa or amoeba or bacteriological contamination prior to putting it in and getting all that stuff in my filters, in my filtration system. So now I'm going to go to a 4-step process instead of just simply a 3-step. Let me see here. Lots of great discussion about how to fix lentils. Thank you all very much for that. Don't forget, don't forget to check Windy, WINDY.com every morning to find out what the prevailing winds are. So that, and in the next chapter, we're going to talk about advance notice. So if you get advance notice that there are nukes going, let's say, towards Houston, should I worry today whether the winds are carrying stuff from Houston or from San Antonio? And so I can find that out every morning when I go to windy.com, or from Fort Hood, if it comes northwest of me. So, same thing, Triple G, it being close to Fort Hood, which way are the prevailing winds? Are they going to be going over his area or not? Grateful Preps, New Jersey says that he's 1 mile away from the Naval Weapons Station, Earl. So that doesn't sound too promising. I would make sure I had someplace low. I mean, a basement to get into. Wow, really? I did not know that. Thank you. That gives us a little bit of hope, I guess. Yellville, there. Thank you. Thank you. That's where I was. Okay, let me see. So one of the things, I buy these. I don't drink soda anymore. Instead, I get these. These are 88 cents a bottle at Walmart, and I'll drink 2 of these a day. So once we do that, then this little plastic sleeve comes off, and we can rip that off. Helen washes the bottle, and then this becomes a bottle of cold water or fresh water that we can take out of our tap and store it for long-term storage. So I probably got we don't have any room for any more of it now. But I have a refrigerator out in the backyard. So whenever people come in the neighborhood and they're doing outside work during the summer, they know that I keep cold bottles of water in the backyard. They're free to come and take them. So that's just for any of the workers who happen to be in the area. And so we constantly refilling that. So, but we provide cold water for all the workers in the neighborhood. Let me see here. Okay, chapter 3, warnings and communications. And let me see here. A lot of people think that Muskoka Oma, a lot of people think we're crazy for as a matter of fact, I deleted a comment, one of the very first ones I've ever deleted. I did my weekly haul, I do my weekly haul on Saturdays, and somebody start off with laugh out loud, what in the world you're prepping for? What do you think is going to happen? I don't need that. We're getting too close to the end for us to have to deal with that. So I just deleted the comment. First time I've ever deleted a comment like that, but that's just the way it goes. There's all kinds of people out there. If you're not interested, if you don't want to be serious, if you don't want to take things seriously, if you don't want to be kind, polite, and respectful, I don't have time for you. We got too much to do, too little time to do it. Let me see here. Hello, Butch Graves. I did not know that. Thank you for sharing that. Let me get here. Phioxerus, thank you for sharing that. I usually use hydrogen peroxide to clean mine. So Oh, great, great. Well, it depends on the size. There's so many factors. It's pitiful. Uh, a lot of those who were in this book, there are pictures of bomb shelters that were not far from the epicenter of where the bombs were dropped, and the people survived. So, I mean, they didn't even have massive radiation doses. So, if you've got if you got a basement and you're getting it prepared and you prepare it correctly, there's a good chance you will survive. Uh, Correct. Thank you, Grateful Preps or Rebecca. Uh, Let me see here. Unfortunately, you are so correct. If the computer, gosh, I'm having a hard time with this computer tonight. Okay, it's verifying Microsoft Outlook. So make sure I have a license, I guess, while I'm trying to do a live. But anyhow, yeah, prices are going crazy. What I used to get for like $100 a month, $105, $110 a month, just 2-3 years ago, now costs me close to 200. With my monthly Thrive Life order. So, yeah. Oh, isn't that the truth, Annie? So we've got. I think I've got. Come on, computer. Get rid of this Microsoft Outlook verification thingy. Yeah, we don't have basements here in Central Texas. There's too much rock directly underneath of us. So yeah, you're absolutely correct. Hello, Militant. Welcome. Haven't seen you before, but welcome very much. Sometimes, Faxers, I have to admit that I'm kind of lazy, so I'll use the easiest way available to me, and 1 capful of hydrogen peroxide with 1 gallon of water is a good sanitary thing for all of my drinking water things. So that's what I do there. Okay, chapter 3: warnings and notifications. There are 2 types of warnings. You're going to get a strategic warning, and that's going to be a day or so in advance. That's kind of what the Watchman is telling us now, is that this is where we're looking at situation globally. We're looking at the situation between us and one other country or whatever, and we're saying, hey, things are getting tight. So I think back to basically what got me into prepping, which was the Cuban Missile Crisis back when I was a youth, and us building all the fallout shelters and everything else. And so that was only between us and Russia, Soviet Union at that time. And but the chances were high. Now we take a look at all the things that are out there, and we also take a look at all the terrorist threats that we have ongoing inside of our country, and it's just unbelievable the amount that's out there. So I have a feeling, I have a feeling that Watchman is correct. Something is going to happen in the near future. Now, what it is, I'm afraid I can't really predict that. But I think there's enough people warning us that something is going to happen. There is a terrorist watch list, a terrorist warning by the FBI, effective here inside the U.S. And so, we need to pay attention to that. We need to think about what's going on around us and what can we do to be prepared for it. Then we have the tactical warning. So tactical warning is basically what's going to happen with NORAD or some of the other things where we say, okay, we have detected a missile launch, depending upon where it's coming from. So if it's a cross-polar ICBM, we may have anywhere between 30 and 40 minutes advance notice that it's happening, and give you enough time to get down into a shelter, prepare, do last-minute things, and all those kinds of things, depending upon how far away you are from the pole. So here in Texas, of course, we're going to be farther away from the pole. We'll get a little bit more advanced warning than those people who live in North Dakota. However, there's also this other thing called a nuclear submarine. So they could be out in the Gulf of Mexico. And so out in the Gulf of Mexico, we may only have 3 to 7 minutes advance warning that there's a submarine launched ballistic missile, an SLBM, coming towards Houston, coming towards Austin, San Antonio, Dallas, Fort Worth, or any of the other larger cities. Texas has so many of the top 25 biggest cities in the U.S. It's pitiful. So, and that's going to be, you're going to receive your notification there through the national warning system. And so that's the one we just had the practice on here a little while ago, where they did the warning over television, cell phones, radio, and everything else. That's NAWAS, or the National Warning and Alert System, or Warning System. Oh, wow. Shenanigans has some good information here. Let's get that up here for you. So Shenanigans says that they got warnings from San Diego. His brother lives an hour from the border in Southern California, and his town is on high alert and being watchful. That does not surprise me at all. I believe that like you would not believe. I agree. That's part of that new world order. Is part of it is putting us into bankruptcy, basically. Princess Kicking Butt, good to see you. I think I told you the story. We had it's called the Brushy Creek cryptosporidiosis outbreak of, I think it was 1996, 1997. But my daughter was the first confirmed case of cryptosporidium. We had a lightning storm, and the lightning hit our pumping station. So it took all of our sewage, pumped it uphill, and then gravity fed it down into the city of Austin. And we used their processing, fecal processing system. And so the lightning hit our pump. It wasn't pumping the sewage uphill. It was just all coagulating right there at the collection point. Well, it got into our drinking water supply. And so, so my daughter was the first confirmed case. And the two people who flew in from CDC, at that time we had this TV show, what was it called? X-Files, with Scully and Mulder. The two who came from CDC looked just like Scully and Mulder. I swear to God, that made us even more worried. Let me see. I heard October 22nd as well, Carl, and I'm glad that that's already passed. So, that's something that was there. Okay. So now then, how do we respond to these? Come on. So one of the things that we have, that there's a theory that one of the things they might want to do is take out our command and control communication systems, or C3 systems. And so what they will do, what we are projecting they would do, because it's something that we would probably do, is launch an EMP first. And that EMP then takes out the ability to communicate, to warn people that there's something happening. So one of the things that we need to spread the word on, especially among this crowd, is if you see something that looks like an EMP, so all of a sudden all the lights go out, all of a sudden the radio goes dead, all of a sudden all these different things start to happen, know that that's an EMP, and that's probably going to be followed by airbursts of nuclear weapons shortly thereafter. And just be aware of that an EMP is probably going to be a precursor to any high dosage attack by all their other things that are going on. So what are probably some of their major targets going to be? Well, they're probably going they of course want to get our ICBM sites, our bomber sites. So that we have three major bombers where we keep our nuclear bombers: Minot, North Dakota, Abilene, Texas, and what's the place in Missouri, the southwestern portion of Missouri. I forget the name of the Air Force base there. But those are the three major places where we have B-1s, B-2s, and B-52s. And so they're probably going to be major targets. We have 210 runways in the U.S. that are over 7,000 feet long and can accommodate as an emergency landing or a takeoff for a B-52, which is one of the heaviest ones that we have. I know one of those is in Salina, Kansas, out in the middle of nowhere, because we had to convoy from Fort Riley to Salina to get on C5s to fly over to Germany for Reforger. and that was redeployment of forces to Germany. So we only had 4 divisions in Germany during most of the Cold War, because we said that we could get a 5th division there, the 1st Infantry Division, on 24-hour advance notice. So we would get the notice. We practiced that every September. We would get an alert. We'd go to Salina, get on C5As, fly over to Germany, pick up what they called POMCUS, positioning of military configurations for the United States. So they had entire division worth of tanks, APCs, everything else in these warehouses. You'd go pick up your equipment there and then deploy out to a forward zone, getting ready to fight a war. So we were able to do that. We were able to deploy an entire division within 70. The entire division would start being there within 24, finish being there within 72 hours after notification. Command and control centers, our VLF, very low frequency submarine command and control centers. One is in Washington, one is in Maine, another one is in South Carolina. And those are the ones that are going to send all the targeting codes and launch codes to our submarines out in the ocean. Those are probably going to be targets. We don't think that they're going to target any populated cities, although they could. That very well could be. So let me see up here. Yes, and that's one of the things that I think that if I'm going to be afraid of something, there's 2 things I think the terrorists will go after: our water systems and our power systems. Now, the 3rd one is going to be our septic systems, because, man, they can get some disease going with the septic systems if they get those to back up. So those would be the 3 main things I would be afraid of them getting into. Yes, NORAD in Colorado Springs. Thank you, Annie. That's correct. I saw a question from Rebecca. No, Rebecca, actually, Fort Leonard Wood it has 2 things. Number one, it used to have Army basic training. I don't think it does anymore, but it might. The other thing is the Army Engineer School. So it's the headquarters of the U.S. Army Engineers. So that is no strategic threat to anybody. I don't think Fort Leonard would be a threat. Now, a place like Fort Hood that had, used to have 2 divisions plus an armored cavalry regiment plus 3 corps headquarters, had an entire MI brigade, 303rd ASA battalion, 303rd MI, but later 303rd MI battalion, was the largest MI battalion in the world. 303rd used to be the size of a brigade, actually, so it's 3 times the size of a normal battalion. That's all right there at Fort Hood. That is all kind of slimmed down. Now we only have 1 division there, but a ground division, that's not going to be any threat against them. We've got to move them. We got to move them through aircraft or move them through ships. So just leave them alone. Don't waste a bomb on them, because what are they going to do? They aren't going to attack anybody. And without any electricity, without any fuel production, they aren't going to defend anybody. So I don't think that the ground forces, U.S. Army, U.S. Marine Corps, are going to be any targets at all. The targets will be Air Force and Navy, to be honest with you. I think what can happen is, I think they can totally, if you take a look at the destruction of what happened in Hiroshima and Nagasaki, they can accomplish the same thing and probably even greater damage. Remember that the damage done, the greatest amount of damage is done by an airburst. The reason you use a ground burst is to get the residual radioactivity. So the airburst is going to take out any runways, and that's all you want to do. So I will say, in my opinion, I think that they're going to primarily use all airbursts. That's going to do the maximum amount of blast damage and the least amount of radioactive damage. McConnell Air Force Base, Wichita, Kansas, probably a very good target. Let me see. Absolutely. And so I think hydroelectric things, one of the biggest mistakes we realized when we did an after action in World War II, we kept bombing German war production factories in World War II. And only one time did we go after a hydroelectric production facility, and that was in Norway. going back, looking at it when we reevaluated, we would have been much better off going after the electric productivity in Germany, because if we could have stopped several factories by taking out one power plant, in comparison to having to pinpoint target different factories. So by taking out the power production, you're basically taking out several factories. So I think you're absolutely right. If they can take out our electric power production and distribution system, they've pretty much got us wiped out. Okay. So some of the other things, watch out for extremely bright lights. One of the things they talk about here is the duration of the thermal pulse. So we're talking about a thermal pulse that is an airburst, and it's saying a thermal pulse delivers its heat and light for several seconds after initial explosion. It can last for more than 11 seconds from a 1 megaton surface burst, and can last up to 44 seconds from a 20 megaton burst. So the blast wave initially travels much faster than the speed of sound. It can cover 1 mile in 5 seconds. So, and they're talking about you can, if you're 100 miles away, you'll feel the blast 7.5 minutes after the explosion. EMP in your cell phone. EMP, basically, there's all kinds of EMP suggestions here. There is a guy, his name is Dr. I put it in my notes here to show you. Banners. Dr. Arthur Bradley. He is the EMP expert for NASA. So he designs all the EMP shields for space stations and space vehicles and all that kinds of stuff. And for a lot of our high altitude aircraft as well. And so he has a channel on YouTube. Here it is. And it's at Disaster Prepper on YouTube. But he does a lot of good training on EMP in his channel. He also helped with some of this, so they sought him out. There are some things you can do communications wise. So I have CB radio, I have FMRS, FRS, GMRS, HF reception. I do not have HF transmission. So I don't have duplex HF capability. Then I have UHF, VHF, which is, of course, the UV5R bow thing and the YA6 Yaesu. All those are the handy-talkie, basically what they call ham radios, but it's actually corresponding with a repeater antenna. This is the Baofeng UV8G. So this I keep ready for an EMP. And the way you can tell it's ready for an EMP is you don't want to keep anything that protrudes, over a long distance, especially long. And it says, don't worry about any antennas that are under 12 inches. But I still keep this one unscrewed. So this is only about a 7-inch antenna, but I still keep it unscrewed. Don't keep it on the radio. I also don't keep the battery attached to the radio. So that, according to Dr. Bradley, that's all you need to do to protect your CB radios, UV5Rs, the ham, UV5R is the ham, UV8G is the GMRS radio. They also have an FRS radio. That's how I also have a whole bunch of radios and chargers and things like that in a Faraday bag. But one of the things Dr. Bradley talks about is, if you take a Faraday bag and put your cell phone close to one of these radio towers where it's, like a transmission tower for a radio station, you tune at that radio station. When you get up really close, you're going to be able to hear through the bag because it can penetrate. He says so, and imagine a EMP is going to be 100 times stronger than that. So, just be aware of that. Just a couple more things I want to do here. So protect AM radios by using only their built-in short loop antennas. The built-in antennas of smart portable radios are too short for EMP. Keep antennas on FM, CB, and other amateur radios as short as practical, preferably less than 10 inches. I think I said 10 inches. Maybe I said 8. Keep all unshielded radios at least 6 feet away from any long piece of metal, such as pipes, So your toilet, if it's metal, but nowadays a lot of that's PVC. But if you have gas, LPG coming into your house, that's probably going to be a metal pipe. So keep it at least 6 feet away from those pipes. Let me see, metal ducts or wires found in any basements and stuff like that. Keep it at least 6 feet away from your wire panel. There is a link down below. I am a distributor with EMP Shield. So if you are concerned and want to buy an EMP Shield, they're very easy to install. I have one installed between my solar system and my battery. And then we have one on my pickup and one on Helen's car. So, that's kind of where we are. So that kind of covers chapters 2 and 3. And let me go back to comments and see where we are. We got 13 new comments while I was doing all of that. LDS Prepper is phenomenal. Absolutely. Yes. So this is the GMRS Triple G UV8. So it's UV8G for GMRS. The G stands for GMRS. Cats and Prepping says page 26. Let me see what's on page 26. She's probably giving the page that I was reading from. Yes. So on page 26, how to keep radios operating. And that's where I was reading that from. You're absolutely correct. Thank you, Cats and Prepping. Yeah, I took my, so I think I've shown you before. I keep it in a shopping bag, but this is my everyday carry bag. So I've got all my stuff in here. And I took it to our men's group this morning and walked everybody through it. I'd walked them through my cheap $20 PPE, personal protective equipment for, and that's actually where this goes in my everyday carry bag. But I walked them through last week my $20 Fallout PPE, and this week I walked them through my everyday carry bag. And we talked about things like that this morning for our men's group. So I would encourage you all. Number one, figure out where you're going to go in case there's something happening. Figure out what the signs are. How can you tell that an EMP has happened so that you can be prepared for a subsequent radioactive blast afterwards? Number two, what can you do? And I would say that, right now on Amazon, they have a flex payment plan. Now, I'm not encouraging anybody to go into debt if you can't afford it. But if you spend so much money, it's like if you get a decent radiometer, radiation detector, and a dosimeter for you and one other person in your family, that's going to take you up to where you can put that out over, let's say, 6 payments of $15 a month. So if you can do that, do that. If you can afford to do that. Make sure you have some sort of radiation detector and get some potassium iodide pills. Now, they will tell you, I saw a report from CDC, they recommend that if you're over 65 years old, potassium iodide is not going to do you that much good because it takes about 25 years for the thyroid to develop the cancer as a result of the radiation dose. So you're protecting your thyroid primarily from radiation. And so if you're over 65, by the time the throat cancer happens, you're past your life expectancy. So, they say, for us old folks, we really don't need it that much. What are the warning signs? Get some sort of communication. CB radio is fine. I want to strongly recommend get the Partisan Operator Journal by John Jacob Schmidt. Great book. It's kind of a fiction novel, but he teaches an awful lot through the fiction. So in here, he gets into challenge and reply. He gets into authentication. He gets into one-time pads. He talks about the best HF transceivers. He talks about he is the coordinator for the nationwide Channel 3 project. So, and the Channel 3 project says that if anything happens here in the country, then regardless of the type of radio you have, GMRS, FRS, or CB, go to channel 3 and monitor channel 3. And that's where all the preppers are going to be, on channel 3 of whatever radio system you have. And so, get this book, learn an awful lot about radio communications there. Make sure you get yourself some sort of radio communications device. You can get 2 Midland, I forget what the number is. Midland, I have 2 of them. CB radio walkie-talkies, 2 of them for $50. And that'll give you and one other person in your house the ability to communicate back and forth. Or you can be using one while the other's charging on a solar system. You think of all those kinds of things that you can do there. Let me get about here. We'll go through these comments and then we'll call it an evening. Who's your prepping nurse? Welcome. And I don't know. You've asked a question I don't know the answer to. That's something we'd have to look up. What I can tell you is radon, you have to have years of exposure, from what I understand, before it really has an effect. And so if you're going to be down in the basement for 2 weeks, I would much rather be exposed to 10 times the level of radon than I would be to 5 times the amount of cesium or uranium. So I guess it's going to be a choice of which one of the 2 is the greater evil, and you want to avoid whichever one is the greater evil. Now, you can do some shielding, of course. So instead of not only having the shielding above you, you can also see if you can't get that mass between you. Remember the 3 things for radiation: time, distance, and mass. Something to interfere and block that amount of radiation. So, putting maybe a cinder block floor down, or sandbags or something to absorb that radon might be a possible answer. I'm guessing that is not a knowledgeable answer. That's a guess answer on my part, and I want to be totally honest about that. Okay. And so what we're talking about is we're protecting the wood from fallout, not necessarily from radiation. So fallout are the molecules, the dust particles that have the radiation attached to them. So as long as we can keep that dust particle off of your wood, yes, you're absolutely correct. Then we're protecting it. And so the tarp is going to do that for you, unless you have a lot of wind that's going to kick all that dust up and then put it underneath the tarp. But basically, you don't want to burn any wood that has that radioactive fallout dust on it, because then what you're doing is you're agitating it and putting it into your air supply. Diana, too, I think you're absolutely right. I think mass panic is going to be it. I think that, they say that 95% of the population will be gone within a year. I think 50% of that's going to happen the first week or two, when people are with people taking care of each other, and not in a good way. Yes, channel 3 on any radio, Triple G. So that could be FRS, GMRS, or CB. So the name of the book is Partisan Operators Journal, Volume 1. He hasn't put out a Volume 2 yet, by John Jacob Schmidt. He's an ex-Special Forces communications guy. Thank you, Grateful Preps. I appreciate that. And we learn from each other. So thank you for your comments as well. Like I said, I've guessed a couple of times here. There are some very knowledgeable people on here. Triple G Farms, Phioxerus, Diana too, Rebecca and John. And they know so much as well. There's so many great people who have so much information to share. And that's what I love about being able to do these lives, is y'all know as much and share as much as I can. So I just have the, what are we going to call it? I get to scare you by you having to look at my face for all this time, but we're going to find a way to get some of you on this channel. Triple G's been on once. We'll try to get a couple of you others on here as well. Who's Your Prepping Nurse says, years ago, as part of a strategy, was if mass panic and you have the room, make it look like a room has already been ransacked and make people from coming in. Absolutely. I've heard that is one of the things you want to do. Take stuff and just throw it out your front door into the yard, so it looks like people have already ransacked it. Another thing you can do is put a quarantine sign on your front door. Quarantine um, contagious disease inside or something like that. Yeah, absolutely. Um, both of those are good ideas. Hi, who's your prepping nurse? Welcome. Good to see you. Let's see. Yeah, make sure that you have a good filtration system. And like I said in an earlier one of the things you can get right now to ahead of time before, because this is going to be one of those things that's going to disappear very quickly. I would say get some at least 5 mil plastic sheeting and some duct tape. And you want to seal off your doors and windows to the best extent possible. If we get one of those advanced notices that something's imminent, the more you can protect yourself from the incursion of that radioactive dust, the better off you're going to be. And part of that includes sealing off your air conditioner vents and your heating vents, because that's another way that the radiation can incur into your home. Um, so, we want to protect yourselves there. Uh, yes, Partners and Operators Journal book. Thank you, Triple G. So, who's your prepping nurse? I had some very bad dental problems, and about a year ago, I realized that I was eventually going to lose all my teeth. So I went ahead and at one time, when was that, Helen? Last March?
I don't remember.
It's been almost a year. Helen says it's been almost 2.
Really?
But I had my 17 remaining teeth all pulled at one time. So they pulled those 17 teeth in the morning, drilled 8 holes, 4 in the top and 4 in the bottom. And then it took 6 months to make this porcelain screw in. So my teeth are permanent, but they're all porcelain. I don't have any feeling. So when I eat corn on the cob, I have to be very careful because I don't know what I'm really feeling when I eat it. But I had all that done last year because I didn't want to be caught with not being able to eat without teeth in the event something happened. Yes, good. Very good, Holly. Thank you for remembering that. I failed to mention that. You are absolutely correct. See what I mean? This is where we get those great ideas from the other people in the chat. So let me see what else. Okay, Rebecca, take care. Say hi to John. You all take care. Okay, so I guess that's it for the evening. We're at 1 hour and 10 minutes. Oh my gosh, there was a lot of interest in this subject tonight. So next week we will be doing chapters 4 and 5, and that's going to be evacuation and shelter. So if we are still here next week, we will be doing evacuation and shelter. So the Lord bless you and keep you. The Lord let his face shine upon you and be gracious to you. The Lord look upon you kindly and give you rest. Thank you all. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. You are just wonderful. What a great group of people. I really enjoy this time with you because you are so great at sharing with each other and taking care of each other. Great questions, great answers. I appreciate the fact that you are so kind, polite, and respectful with each other, empathetic with each other. And we have such a great community here. Thank you for creating such a wonderful community. And thank you for allowing me to host it because this channel is only as good as you make it because you're the real content. So thank you so much for that. So remember that we're all in this together so we can come out the other side together. If you have ideas about what I can do for those 1-minute shorts on great recipe ideas, please email them to me. Today, I just did one on chipped beef and gravy over biscuits. So that was my 60-second short on a post-apocalyptic meal. So remember, we're all in this together so we can come out the other side together. Please be kind, polite, and respectful of each other. I don't need to tell you that because you guys do that on a minute-by-minute basis. So we can all come out the other side together. Take care, everybody. God bless you. If I can only I got to get past New York Prepper and all these other alerts here real quick so I can get to the turn off. Come on. There we go. Okay. So now I can turn off the live in stream. Take care, everybody. Bye-bye.